This is Dawn Sibley, and this is my assignment number 3 reflection. My category was social learning, and I chose to work with Google Plus Communities. A little bit about me. I've been a teacher for 16 years. I was a school board member for 4 years, and currently I teach kindergarten before lunch, and in the afternoon I teach 7th and 8th grade combination class. This is my first class in the MIT program. And that makes it also my first experience with Google Plus Communities. My PM classroom is equipped with 30 Chromebooks, Wi-Fi, which were both new last year. I have a smartboard, a document cam, and a dozen Spiro 2s. Two things that I've learned working on this project are that social learning is the idea that people learn from one another via observation, imitation, and modeling. And for social learning to be successful, it must be relevant, rich, rewarding, and real. So with that said, I chose the platform of Google Communities to set up a place that would allow my students to interact and do a lot of social learning. I found the Google Plus Communities, a beginner's guide, as an excellent resource that walks you through how to set up Google Communities. And it describes communities as places where users can share specific questions, comments, or content related to a particular topic with other users who are just as interested in the conversation. And if you are a user who is posting content unrelated to the topic, a moderator could step in and police that person. My Google Communities that I built for this application are the Alta Dutch Flat Technology for Math and Science with Mrs. Sibley. I started a Genius Hour community as well as a Alta Dutch Flat School Leaders. To get started with developing a community, when you are within your communities, you would click on Create a Community underneath the area of yours. And once you're in that parameter, you just slowly start to decide if you're going to have a public site or a private site, which is extremely important when you're working with the classroom. You would want to keep those parameters private. And you slowly just start to walk through and develop each of the components of your community. The 3 that I have developed for this are these 3 here. And the first one I would like to look at with you is Alta Dutch Flat Technology with Mrs. Sibley. And here you can see that I have established my categories as an introduction video, much like we were asked to do for our MIT class. And I've also incorporated other components like the FYI Food for Thought Share, which you're familiar with, and I use Khan Academy with my students, so I gave them their class codes. But the ones that I'm more excited about are the speed search. So I took the idea from speed search, and if you read through later on your own when you look at my community, I have actually designed an assignment that will help my students start to navigate through the first unit of our Physical Science Unit 1, and they will be able to start to lead and guide the direction that our unit will take with their discoveries. And so the speed search will help them to do that. So I'm trying to make it real and relevant to their interests and their lives. After we develop the idea of how we're going to learn the components and main ideas of our Unit 1 through our speed search, it will have given them experience on how to start to develop their ideas and things that they would like to learn more about on their own. So back to my communities page, then that led me into the segue of how I would introduce, after doing our speed search in our first unit, physical science, I went ahead and copied this video for my students to watch in here, and this will be where they will access their sign-up sheet, and then each student will have their name within this community so that they can get their own individual research projects off the ground. As I was working through this, I discovered that many of our school leaders may not have any experience whatsoever with these types of platforms. So I thought in order to introduce them to how these things work, I made a Alta Dutch Flat School Leaders page. Here I'm asking them to become a part of this community so that we can inspire our young leaders, our young learners at Alta Dutch Flat School with a much more technological based program. I'm going to ask them also to introduce themselves through a video, share their favorite TED Talks, and then any ideas that they might find, and then those ideas that are specific to Chromebooks to get our technology conversation started. So this led me to something interesting. When I started to develop and design this, I noticed that within the Google communities there was an idea that was attached to no users under the age of 13. So I panicked after doing a lot of development and decided to learn more about the use in elementary education of Google communities. And I emailed my school tech, and he revealed this to me. He said, unfortunately, Google Plus is not covered by Google Apps for Education's COPPA compliance, and Google automatically disables Google Apps for Education accounts that have Google Plus enabled but are under the age of 13. So that pretty much rules out the use of Google Plus in any education classroom other than in high school. And the COPPA stands for Children's Online Privacy Protection Act. So I ran into a glitch with utilizing and getting this up and running in my classroom. But I did find out that I did have alternatives. The Google Apps for Education that my school district is utilizing but has not yet rolled out. It does have the core apps of Hangouts, Gmail, Slides, Sheets, Docs, Vault, Calendar, Drive, Sites, and Classroom. And I was also told and advised that as I roll out any of these apps, I must also first introduce the idea of how each one works to my school board and my administrator and how I plan to use those in my classroom. And I have a feeling that the fears that will come forth with these starting to roll out will show themselves, and according to the 5 common fears of using Google Apps for Education, those fears will probably be they'll worry that we will lose control of our students. Of course, they'll be concerned about privacy violations. They'll feel that maybe our kids are too young. Some of them will think that colleges don't use Google apps, and they'll also feel that it would give our students too much freedom. So, in conclusion, the 2 things that I will take away from this experience into my role are, number 1, I will try to adhere to the big idea from the TED Talk, From Fear to Empowerment, where he said, if we want our in-school learning environment to be robust, technological, infused places, we will have to give students something meaningful to work on, give them powerful devices and access, get out of their way, and let them be amazing. And number 2, I believe that in order for me to accomplish this, I am going to need to work very hard to implement safe apps for my students to use and work very hard at educating my student leaders of how these apps work in order to develop such a robust technological place. Thank you very much.